Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Wayward Dragons review episode,
Yes, welcome.
where a couple of nerdy friends that, on our off weeks, we kind of talk about what we've been watching, what we've been reading, what we've been playing, and all that fun stuff to kind of break up monotony from our other episode and give you guys
Yeah.
a little listen into our regular day, everyday lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
As Kelsey and I were talking before starting this,
Yeah.
I've only managed to read one book, but I do have a few other things I'm going to be reviewing, so be prepared for that.
I only got two.
Well, I've already changed my target for the year once.
Yes, you did.
From 52 to 75. I'm at 74, so I'm kind of just trying to figure out what I'm going to read next.
Yeah.
I
was like, I hit my goal and I just kind of keep going.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out what I want to read next. That way, I'm not and it'll probably be the last book that I read this year. So it'll be for our next recording episode that we do.
Yeah. You gotta go out with a bang.
Yeah.
You gotta go out with some sort of bang.
Yep. So that's what I've got. You said you read 2 books?
Yes. So
do you want to start with us for us?
I was like, I can. So I read Relic by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. So they do they do a whole series. It's a huge series, and it deals with different mythologies. It's not like your classic like with Sigma Force. The one thing I noticed with that series was it was a constant Christian undertone. With the series that Preston and Child write, it's definitely got Egyptian kind of undertones. It's kind of not your run of the mill supernatural things. But Relic takes place in the 80s, which is fun to read, about the Smithsonian. And they're putting together a supernatural exhibit, and people start dying in the museum. And you find out that it's amazing science, and whether the science is actually real would absolutely blow my mind. But they have a program that when you put the DNA, if you would put in for example human DNA, it would give you the things that are similar, so chimpanzees would show up and stuff. And the creature that's in the museum, they managed to get its DNA, and they put it through this mass spectrometer program thing, and it pops out okay, this is in it. This is the DNA it shares, which was gecko, which was weird. But I'm not going to spoil it, what the creature actually is, and how it transforms. But if that program's actually real, that's actually pretty cool. And they were making it for plants and stuff, so or if you could put two things in, it would give you the commonality. So it was to fix the gap in evolution that we have.
Well, it may have been part of the genome project that they did, because there was a huge thing with the genome project.
Yeah, and I think that's when this book kind of came out, was late 90s type thing, so it kind of fits the whole genome project. But I mean, the book's set in the late 80s, but a mission, there's a group of people go into Africa, and they find, or maybe it's South America, somewhere, and they find this tribe. They want to find the Inbun figurine. They think it's a figurine, but it's not a figurine. And like everybody that goes on the mission dies, and the figurine is part of the supernatural like thing that they do. I mean, it's good. I like reading like different from like Sigma Force, and it's a nice like refresher when you have something that's not like your normal supernatural, I guess. It's always
Every
nice
time you
when
say
there's
Sigma Force, I think it's like some really bad like superhero team.
It kind of
It's
is.
like we're not Alpha, we're not Beta, we're all the way down at
we're,
Sigma.
we're Sigma Force. I mean, it's
We're like the
it's
bottom
not.
of the bottom.
I mean, they kind of are. They're like the rejects from the U.S. military that have gotten into like massive amounts of trouble. So I mean, you're not wrong. And then, so like when I get off work on like Friday or Saturday, I normally on my way home I hit the library and I just kind of walk around. You know, it's just what I do. I don't feel guilty for bringing home 5 books because I have not paid for them. You know, and I found this book called Benyu, Born of Ash by Katie Feevel. It's the first in her series. And honestly, I think that's the best book I've read this year. Best. And the cover, what gets me, because it's like a blue phoenix type creature. It's a fantasy series that she's writing. It's the first book in the series. And as someone who overthinks and has spirals, it was very refreshing to have a character like this. So basically, she thinks she's an elemental, and she's not. But being an elemental in her community is kind of like being a leper. You know, she's very much the outcast.
Okay.
And she's trying to help her family survive, and she kind of gets roped into this whole marriage contract with who she thinks is a general to save her community, because she breaks a treaty while hunting. Unbeknownst to her, she breaks a land peace treaty, and so to save her people, because she broke this treaty, she's kind of roped into this marriage contract to save her people, to save her family, and she feels horribly guilty for what she has done, but it's there's a lot more to everything. Everything is not what it seems. It's just like any like high court fantasy series. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background that you eventually put together. She finds out that she is not an elemental, that her mother was poisoning her for her own good, but she is a godling, which is like a step below the gods. So you got gods, godlings, and demi. And she finds out that her soon to be husband is a prince, fifth in line, granted, but he himself has an agenda. Like, for them getting married was planned, very much planned, but he has an agenda for her, and it's reading her constant mental battles of, should I trust him, should I not, I'm falling for him but I'm not, and then trying to protect her people, feeling guilty of what's happened for her people, trying to save her family, and all the emotions that go on with that. It was very refreshing to read about a character like myself that overthinks way too much, but the amount of growth that she goes through in just that one book was huge. Like, to watch her, like to read her get her backbone and stuff. Honestly, one of the best books I've read this year, and I'm very excited for the rest of her series on this.
Gotcha.
Because I totally picked it up because of blue phoenix thing on the cover.
You know, you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover.
I don't care. Like, I saw it because the cover is the Benyu, and it is like a phoenix. It's born out of ash, basically, but it's more intense than that. Which is obviously why it's blue and not red. Type thing. But like, she associates with the creature a lot because of what she goes through. So she like gets tortured, gets brainwashed. It's horrible, but it's good. I think I read it in like 2-3 days. My fiance laughed at me because like that's all I did. Yeah, and it was like a decent sized book too. I mean, it's pretty good. Night. That's all I did. I gave myself a headache more than once.
I like how you do that. Like, you know, all of our listeners know the exact distance that you're showing.
I forget that because I show you that and then I like mysteriously think that everyone knows what I'm talking about. I mean, it's like a good 1.5 inches, like your standard like hardback novel, I guess. You know. So yeah, I'm very interested to read the rest of her series because like the first words are like neurodivergent, and I was like, all right, I don't care what the rest of this is, but obviously I'm gonna like this. So yeah, those are the two that I read. I'm currently reading American Mother off of Audible. So
what is that?
So
do we need to wait till next episode?
No, I mean I can cover it now because it's true crime related. So it takes place not long. It's about 5 or 10 years after the Tylenol murders that happened in Chicago. There's a lot of podcasts that cover the Tylenol murders, and that's honestly, it's one of the reasons why your medicine is tamper proofed with like the plastic wrap and the seals and stuff is because of the Tylenol murders that happened in Chicago. But basically, this woman is, I want to say she's found guilty of murdering her husband plus somebody else in the community. But she tampers with Excedrin capsules, to be precise. And they catch her because when she's grinding the cyanide, she's grinding it in the same mortar and pestle that she uses to grind up her algae tablets for her fish tank. And the capsules, the poison capsules that the FBI finds, because at this point, tampering with medicine becomes a federal. The FBI gets involved no matter what. Once you start tampering with something, the FBI gets involved.
Yeah, but wouldn't that fuck with her fish?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not a scientist by any means, but
I mean, they're tropical fish, so I don't know. But yeah, but it's there's been a couple podcasts that cover this specific case, but to actually like read it like a true crime book is kind of, this lady is weird. She's crazy. Like,
I mean, most people who do stuff like that are crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Have you ever heard of the acid bath killer?
No. I'm gonna have
Okay, so there's this guy in the UK who basically he would take it and lure people back to his workshop and knock them out or shoot them and put their entire body into a giant vat of acid because he thought, so this guy misread laws apparently, and because he mistranslated things, and he thought that because there was no body, he couldn't be tried for murder.
No body, no crime.
Yeah.
Which is false.
And so that's how he interpreted it. So he was literally dissolving people's bodies and stealing their stuff and, like, you know, forging documents and everything else to make it look like, hey, I've, you know, this person left me all this property and stuff. So he was literally dissolving people in barrels of acid.
Yeah, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. Like, There's a lot of people that think, especially here in the US, that if there's no body, there's no crime. You can't prove that I've murdered them. And that is not the case. There's been a lot of people that have been convicted on no body. And there's a lot of states that the laws say that if you don't have a body, that's okay. But there are states that do have no body, no crime type laws. Still,
But
I think.
the funny thing is this guy was so stupid that after all this, because he tried to swindle people multiple times. So to be fair, he was raised in an extremely eccentric, far, far, far right Christian denomination.
Gotcha.
Where they believe that technology was sinful and all this other stuff, and they were
Jesus.
kind of wackadoo.
Mm.
But not to hark on anyone's religion, but his parents told him when he was a kid that as soon as he left school, he had to literally run straight home as fast as he could, not speaking to anyone. His parents built a 9-foot wall around their property to keep all the sin out.
A 9-foot wall is not gonna do that.
So so he didn't have the best childhood, but
that's not.
But
yeah, that's not.
Yeah. So this week,
I was like, what did you get into?
Past week. So the one thing I actually read, and it was recommended to me, and I was just not to. The person who recommended it to me had good intentions.
Okay.
For our listeners, something that Kelsey already knows, that I am an avid believer in continuous self-improvement or continuous improvement of any kind.
Yes.
So this was, so they recommended this to me thinking that, hey, because they heard about it on a podcast and they thought, hey, this might be beneficial for you.
Yeah.
So you should read it and check it out and see what your thoughts are. And I read it, and this was possibly one of the worst self-help books I have ever read.
We finally have a negative review. Yay!
Yeah. So it's the name of the book is What to Say When Talking to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. So
Okay.
I can tolerate certain religious undertones if it's limited.
Okay.
But he brings up God multiple times, and if that's what you're shooting for, that's fine. If that's what your interest is, then that's fine. Not really what I was wanting, or not really what I had interest in there. So kind of a point against. One of the things that he kind of says is, and it's very much a, everything that happens to you, it happens because you're not putting in enough work, which in certain instances I believe.
Yeah.
But the book overall comes from the ideology of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, which is a very problematic statement and ideology if you actually dig into it, because, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, one, half the people who say that inherited money or inherited things, and so they don't really know what it's like to struggle in any aspect of life. And two, it is generally used by middle-aged, middle-class white men to degrade other people who don't fall into the same social economic category as they do.
Yeah.
But that was very much the vibe of the book. Granted, if any of our listeners want to read it, the podcast that it originally came from, or that the person who recommended it to me got it from, apparently that both people on the podcast, because that's what they do, is they review self-improvement books, they both loved it.
Oh, it's that podcast.
yeah, buy the book. And so they both loved it. I am not a fan. So, if you want to check it out, I believe that there is knowledge in everything. And so it might be beneficial for some of our listeners.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I read. As far as other stuff, um, so we did our. I don't know. Do you use Spotify at all?
No.
Okay, so
No.
Spotify does a year-end wrap-up review.
Yes, and yours
And,
cracked my ass up.
well, because it was literally the top 5 genres are all just
different
punks. It's just different punk genre. I work with an older English gentleman, and I showed
Yeah.
him that because he's a bit of a punk and was like an alt kid when he was younger over in the UK. And when I say English gentleman, I mean like this guy's probably my mom's age or older.
Okay.
So he was a punk back when punk
Then.
was starting, and in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Like in London. So, but he was cracking up. He's like, "Oh, it seems like you have a theme going on here."
I did. I
But
like popped up right before I went to work one day, and I laughed hysterically.
yeah, but
Laughed so hard.
after looking at it and kind of like looking at some of the stuff for podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing where it had recommended, more about like multiple people who listen to some of the podcasts I listen to these other podcasts. So I
Yeah.
figured I would check one out, and it's enjoyable. It is called Maeltopia. It's a dark fantasy podcast.
Okay.
I'm only how many episodes in am I? I'm only like 17 episodes in.
Okay.
So there's still some questions as far as to the world itself, but it is a narrative podcast.
Okay.
The reason why I decided to pick it up is because sadly, as most podcasts do, 2 of my other podcasts I listen to ended.
Like, no more?
Yes.
Or, oh, so it's not like a season break type thing.
No, it's like they're done recording with it, which is the mythology series I listen to and Tales, both by Parcast. So I'm a bit sad on that.
Yeah.
But so I started listening to this to kind of pick up and fill in. Yeah, it's interesting. It is definitely dark fantasy. So anyone who's squeamish, I would say do not listen to it.
Okay.
It is really interesting. Basically, it takes place on in a dreamscape, but it's like a nightmarescape more so.
Okay.
But the main character and several other characters actually go by names that were given to them that are all names of famous serial killers.
Nice.
So, like, the main character is the family man.
Okay.
And he has, like, weapons and stuff. Look, I don't know.
Okay.
So, I don't know all of the ones that they have in there. So, the main character's family man, he has 2 daggers that he made out of his sisters. Like, out of their bones.
I was like, that you can do that.
And so, like, they, like, pop up in some sort of weird ethereal form. And, anytime he pulls them out, he's like, I woke my sisters up from their slumber. Because he's unsheathing them.
Oh, like he's getting them out of bed. Okay.
And then he has yeah. And then he has a giant axe on his back that is his father. One of the other killers that he was fighting just mentioned something about his mother, and he got really like off the wall or like ridiculously offensive or defensive about it rather. So I'm not sure where that's gonna go.
Okay.
But so that's been a fun little thing. Another thing that I did is I watched all of the Wednesday
I
series
was like, I
on
had a
Netflix.
feeling you were gonna talk about this.
It was so good. I know there's a lot of hate for some reason about it, but so I'm, not to shame. I'm a sucker for, as long as it's not like over the top gushy, like should not be shown on TV and like getting it on with each other type stuff. I am a sucker for like teen dramas
Yeah,
as long as they are written well and there's like an actual storyline.
yeah.
Uh, and of course, as everyone knows, I'm a sucker for anything urban fantasy or occult or anything like that. So of course, this is right up my alley. That
It's
and
like it's
the
also
fact that
Tim Burton.
I was the fact that it's Tim Burton.
Like,
Um,
just
I
adds to it.
honestly do not have a single complaint about the series.
Okay.
Costuming was amazing. The set design was amazing. Writing was on par. They had really nice representation. The casting was perfect. Everything was it was spectacular.
I was like, a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of mixed
Yeah,
reviews online about that series.
yeah. Everything in it was freaking spectacular. I don't know why people would have issues with it. The only thing I can see that I have seen is a lot of people fighting fights that aren't their fights. And by that, I mean people who are getting upset about stuff that they have no right to get upset about because it is not like, yes, if there is injustice for other people, you should get upset with it. And you should also follow those people's those people's lead.
Yeah.
However, all the individuals who are complaining about it are not the individuals that are affected by anything that's in it.
Yeah.
I have not seen a single Latino, Latina, or anything like that have issues with it. And I have seen a lot of people complain about, you know, certain things with that representation.
Yes.
But it's all, you know, it's all white folks. Let's just say it. It's all
Yeah.
white folks that are the ones that are complaining about it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, guys,
Mm-hmm.
that's not how we fix things. You can't go from one extreme to the other.
No. No, that's
You
not how you
know,
fix things.
unless you are the one that's being victimized, or the people who are being victimized don't have a voice or unable to speak up,
Yeah, then sure, go for it.
then you shouldn't be sitting there complaining about it. If the people who are, you claim are being victimized are speaking up about it, then yes, you can say, hey, according to these individuals, this is offensive and this shouldn't be in here.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. And then people have also complained that, and this is what gets me, Gomez isn't good looking enough.
Who cares?
Like,
It's Gomez.
do you want him to be a freaking supermodel? Like that's
Like,
not, it's his attraction isn't based around his appearance. It's
yeah.
based around who he is as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it.
Yeah. Other than that, I have been playing a little bit of a video game, and this will be the last thing I give a review for. Uh, so I kind of started playing a video game in like a little bit of free time that I've had because the game that I really wanted to play came out yesterday, and apparently it did not come out for any console that I own. I could technically play it on the computer, but I hate playing games on the computer unless I have an actual remote and like a video game remote because I hate having to like press all the freaking keys to do like a million other things.
Okay.
Um,
Understandable.
because I'm one of those people. Well, because there are a lot of keys on a keyboard. I can't
There are.
memorize. I don't have where everything is. I mean, I could memorize where everything's at. I don't want to. I'm gonna be lazy. I don't play video games to, do that to my mind. I do it to, disengage.
Yeah.
So hopefully at some point I'll get a chance to play Marvel's Midnight Suns. But that is not what I'm reviewing on. That's what I was hoping to review on, but that's not happening. I have been playing Path of the Exile, which is a really fun dungeon crawler game. For people who don't know, dungeon crawler is stuff like Diablo,
Yeah. That's what we
the
played.
old Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance type thing, where you have a character, you have certain like skill trees and attributes that you can level up. As you level up, you get like skill points to assign, and you go along and you get a bunch of bad guys you beat and kill, and there's it's all about pretty much it's like the ultimate grind game where you're just killing stuff and leveling yourself up.
Okay.
And there's of course a storyline. There's, I believe, 6 classes that you can choose from to start off with, or 6
Is
like
it
core
multiplayer?
characters. You can do it multiplayer online.
But like if you're in the same house is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, so now if you're wanting something for that for you guys, and you're looking for something new, I would suggest Divinity 2 Origin of Sin.
I was like, we have to get through Diablo 3 first.
That's fair. That's fair. Well,
We
this
started
game
it,
was
so.
game was free, which was part of the reason why I downloaded it.
I was
Like,
like, say no more.
Free on PS4, so I'm like, okay, worst case, I'll just have a new game that I'll never play.
Yeah.
But no, of course, the class that I chose is the Witch.
Nice.
But
nice.
the skill tree in this is freaking intimidating. Like, remind me to send you a picture of the skill tree. Like, you can't even see the entire skill tree. It's
that big.
Oh no, it's
Holy
freaking huge.
That's...
And your level cap is at 100, so pretty much you have to like say, okay, like there's probably a good 500 different skills that you can do and click on to put the points into, and you only get 1 point a level. So you have to,
That's a serious like.
You have to basically say, this is how I want to build my character and shoot for that.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't gotten very far on it yet. I'm only in like the second little area that you get into, or third little area you get into. But yeah, this part's a lot of fun.
Nice.
I made sure I got the thing where I could summon zombies, so I got a posse.
That's funny because I think in Diablo I picked like the witch or something.
The witch doctor.
Yeah, so I can.
That's with the frogs.
Zombies. Yeah.
And you could do like the frog swarm. That's what I always did with Diablo 3.
Yeah.
The witch doctor was my favorite.
That's what I did, totally. Summon fucking skeletons and shit.
Listen, if I play a game and I can summon something, I'm going to summon something, okay?
Like, it's a given. Like, for real.
Well, so in Divinity, you can actually do, you can build a summoner, and depending on how you do it, if you guys play it, you only have 2 people on your team.
Mm-hmm.
If you take the attribute of Lone Wolf,
mm-hmm.
all your summons and like all your skills and stuff are a lot stronger, and they're basically doubled.
Okay.
So you just don't let anyone else on your team and take the attribute Lone Wolf whenever you play it. But the summoner, you can, they call it an infernal, but basically it's like a demon, and you can summon it on different surfaces. Okay. And whatever surface you summon it on, it gets bonuses and attributes based off that summon. And then the same thing, they have totems that you can summon as well. And so the totems will take it and fire, and it's like a turn-based type game. So it's turn-based dungeon crawler. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I think that sums up our reviews. Yes, it does for this episode. Yeah. So tune in next episode for our year-end thing.
Yeah, maybe we can do like some year-end, like best book, best show type thing that we've read, listened
Yes.
to, watched type thing.
Yeah, and we'll give you guys a toast for the New Year's. Or at least I will.
Yeah. That's because I don't drink, so.
You can pack a bowl for the New Year's. It's fine.
I will say, like, minor side note, that's been the weirdest thing about wedding planning is picking a drink package. I don't drink. So it's whatever he wants to drink, and then everybody else wants to drink. And they just assume I'm drinking too, and it's like, no. I'm the one driving us home.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably driving all of us home, honestly. Yeah.
So if you guys want to listen to our regular, our meat and potatoes episode, Kelsey, what's our meat and potatoes episode on next week?
So we are going to be doing famous spiritualist people and famous debunkers. So we're going to talk about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Thomas Edison, Harry Houdini. We're going to kind of talk about them. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to join us for that, feel free. Otherwise, leave us a like and a rating.
Yeah.
And
tell a friend.
Yeah. If you guys want to send us in between now and next week what your favorite book or video game or TV show or whatever you've read this year and want us to share it online, feel free. We are thewaywarddragons@gmail.com.
Yep.
Or we are on a lot of socials.
Yeah.
I don't know what all socials we're on. Kelsey, that's a you thing.
Yeah, so we're on Facebook and Instagram. And we do have a YouTube channel where I unbox stuff. So the hands that you see are mine. I was like, I should be doing a Mindful Souls box actually here pretty soon. So yeah, you can even comment on the Facebook post that I will post about this episode of your favorite book for the year, favorite TV show, video game, podcast. If you stumbled upon a new podcast and feel like the world should know, you can do that too. So, yeah. So until next time.
I'm Johnny, ?
And I'm Kelsey.
I do that just to crack you up. Because you're like, what is he going to say? What is he going to say?
It's like, bye-bye.
Bye.